Well, Christina, thank you so much for taking some time to hang with me today. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. So I want to hear all the crazy backstory because every entrepreneur has a backstory of how they got
hmm
into their business. Talk to me about your journey into starting Lit Rituals. Like, were you interested in spirituality type stuff growing up?
Yeah, I have always been off and on. Um, I it's kind of a crazy all over the place journey. But I worked a lot and my background is like pretty intense sales environments, working for startups in the Bay Area and, pretty intense goals where you're working really, really hard all the time. And then your whole life starts over at the beginning of every month. So it's like exhausting. And I think I've always from a young age known that I wanted to work for myself in some capacity, but never knew in what capacity. Um, but I've always been driven and working too hard for somebody else. And I think I just got to a point. Um, well, actually, I got fired. So I got fired from a startup in Oakland, California, because it was a startup and there was new management and I was new to my role. And, I didn't have a huge resume behind me just yet because it'd been a month, but it can be brutal. So they let me go along with a lot of other people. And then
Mm.
I think I thought at that moment, yeah, I want to be working for myself anyways. I'm breaking my back for working with small businesses, which was rewarding to me. I really enjoyed the people that I worked with, but the environment was crazy and it didn't allow for any self-care, any time for yourself unless you wanted to, sacrifice your work performance. So I think that was maybe the seed, and it took me a couple wrong turns and correct turns and then all over the place to get to where we're at now. But that was the beginning of, okay, I actually am going to try and do something for myself. And at that moment I thought, well, that's crazy to just dive right in. So I still had a sales job. It was in a small Humboldt County town where nothing like the Bay Area. I had like a lot of autonomy and didn't if I did a quarter of the work there, they were thrilled, you know. So it allowed me to have a little bit more time to take care of myself and then focus on some of the goals that I wanted to focus on. And at the time I was living with my best friend and co-founder of Lit Rituals, Kaitlyn. And we were both kind of doing our own thing. She has an herbalist background. And like I said, I have kind of like a sales, knew I always wanted to work for myself, but didn't really know how or what. And so at the time I was doing kind of just like a store themed around anything I liked, which sometimes was great and sometimes wasn't. It was kind of like an Instagram e-commerce site where it was a lot of kind of random, quirky, feminist kind of stuff. And actually, it started to just be like a huge headache and I could feel like, oh, this isn't actually fulfilling to me at all. And then Kaitlyn was doing her herbal project at the time. So we were doing side by side, we were going to pop-ups and, doing all the markets and Instagramming and all of the stuff. And so we lived together. And at one point we decided, why don't we if we're already doing these pop-ups together, like let's sell some kind of collaboration. And both of us have, a passion for holistic living and natural products and wellness as a whole. And so we decided, let's make a really clean burning candle for ourselves. Just try it out. It's fun. We're bored here in Humboldt. There's nothing to do. Um, that's how it started. And we're like, okay, let's bring the next pop-ups we do, let's bring these candles and see how they go. And then we just continued to do that. And we did that for way, way, way too long. And only September of last year did we decide, let's cut out our single project and dedicate all of our time to this because there was so much overlap. We just created this kind of like huge mess where we can give a third of our energy here, a third of our energy here, and a third of our energy here. And they're all, and the goal is the same, right? Like have time, ritual self-care, take time for yourself in a healthy, meaningful way in 3 different businesses. So we just had a moment like, what are we doing? Let's combine this. And that was the best decision we ever did. And I wish we would have done it 2, 3 years ago. But that's kind of how we got right here where we are now. It's like we really merged right when the pandemic started. So
Okay.
it's kind of a crazy little journey with a lot
I
of twists
love
and
it.
turns.
I love it. And so the majority of things, like on your website, you've got candles, you've got uh,
Hmm.
burn bundles, herbal smokes,
Right.
loose blends. Then you've got self-care stuff, some home decor stuff. I mean, it's
Hmm.
all centered around, as you said, self-care, but like with a dose, I'm saying a heavy dose of woo-woo spirituality.
Totally. Yeah, totally. Um, so both of us, the way that Kaitlyn and I even came together and met each other, her and my sister did a yoga teacher training together. And then I've done my own separately yoga teacher training as well. So to us, like inner work, you'll see like we have tea talks called inner work. Like inner work is and always will be important to us in some way. Um, but yeah, so there can be an element of spirituality. And I think a lot of our customers definitely use our products in a spiritual way. But I also think for people who aren't spiritual or just, I think self care is becoming more common and less about woo woo spiritual chanting, whatever people associate it with, and more just about a spirituality can just be, there's so many definitions.
Of course.
So yeah, it can be spiritual, but it can also just be uh self-care. And like I think a lot of the time we think about self-care, or I know I can default to this and a lot of my friends can default to like thinking, oh, okay, oh my god, it's been a busy week, like time for self-care, let's put a face mask on and I don't know, eat ice cream or whatever we do in self-care. But I think our goal with lit rituals is making not kind of oh, let's fix the problems from this week. Let's like prep for the problems that we're all going to have for the rest of our life.
Ah,
And when you take time for yourself, whether it's spiritual or not, but even just the act of caring for yourself and loving yourself, it sets you up for success. So instead of, oh, I mean, and I'm sure you've noticed like self-care is so buzzy right now, and it's like you hear self-care trend this, self-care trend that, and nothing irks me more than hearing trendy, because that's like the opposite of what we want to do. It's
right.
like we want self-care to be just as ritualistic as brushing your teeth, or do it like it should be. That's when it works the best.
Okay, so first of all, the name Lit Rituals is just awesome, and I love the
Thank
crystals
you.
part of the icon and the logo. Of the products that you sell on your website, what percentage of these do you manufacture yourself?
um Almost every last one of them. There are a couple items that we don't hand make ourselves, but are handmade by partners. Like the pipes, we don't make those ourselves. We partner with someone who does hand make those. Um, and it takes them so long, and like good for them because I don't think I
Exactly.
could
Sure.
ever do that. But everything, pretty much I'm trying to think. I want to
No, but I'm hearing
100,
that like
I would
the
say
majority of things here,
95%.
yeah, like the matches, you probably don't manufacture the matches.
No, we don't manufacture the matches. We
Yeah,
don't manufacture the pipes. And then, we like through the pop-up market scene that we were on for so long, we met different
right.
wonderful makers like, and I don't even know if these are on our website right now, but they should be and they will be. There's these gorgeous like ceramic mouthpieces for herbal cigarettes or whatever you choose to smoke, made by someone we met on the pop-up circuit, Brooklyn Ceramics. So we do have little partnerships like that where we include
Awesome.
different Bay Area businesses.
And so when you guys were already creating these products on like separately, so you already had a kind of a runway. You just brought it all
Hmm.
together, the two partners,
Yeah,
and
and we refined it a little bit. We refined it and kind of aimed it into the overall direction. Kaitlyn was previously doing some other products um, that some we kept, some we didn't, and same with mine. Some we kept, some we didn't. Um, but yeah, we just kind of made it make sense because it was like the goal was the same.
I'm looking at some of these products on here. And for those of you who are listening, you definitely have to check it out, litrituals.com. And the link will be in the show notes. Of course, you can swipe up on your phone and click it. But I'm looking at Cancer Large Burn Bundle. Now, this looks like a cool
Isn't that
dried
gorgeous?
flower. Like they're beautiful. And you're telling me I'm
Yeah,
going to burn these in
I know.
honor
This is where
of
we went.
a gorgeous burn wand to honor the Cancer astrological sign of the zodiac. It's made with fragrant moon ruled herbs and flowers that correspond with the energy, elements, and character of Cancer. Good Lord, this is just craziness. You want me to just burn some
I didn't even.
flowers?
Yeah, I know that's where we went wrong. Is they're so gorgeous that nobody wants to burn them, but they are. I mean, when you burn them, when you can finally just let yourself burn them, it's amazing. It's like it's it's incredible. They smell as gorgeous. There's no better air freshener.
Really? It smells good.
And that's how I feel. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you can take like this, you can take a teensy sprig of lavender and just like totally reset the energy and the scent of the room. And it's a natural air cleanser, purifies the air naturally, much better than, some of the other things we spray.
Yeah, that
So
nasty stuff out of a can. For those of you that are listening, or if you're watching on YouTube, you obviously see me lounging on a couch, and you might hear a vacuum. There's a vacuum happening in the background. There's a dog barking. I'm at a client's house doing this podcast, so it's not exactly the optimal scenario. Hopefully, you don't hear too much of that. Okay,
I
so
don't hear any of it.
okay, well, good. That's good. Then I'm looking at you have the other thing that I wanted to ask about are like some sort of burn blend. It's just like this, like a looks like I'm burning sawdust or something. What is this?
Probably a loose smoke blend. Is that what you're talking
Yeah,
about?
yeah. What is a
Yes.
smoke blend?
So just like we smoke tobacco or weed or whatever,
Oh,
it's just an alternative to that. There's no tobacco, no weed, no CBD, nothing. It's just other smokable herbs that people have done this for like eons. It's just not as popular as tobacco. But this was actually one of Kaitlyn's products from her herbal line, and
okay.
it was just born out of necessity for friends, really, who were trying to give up smoking, whether that was weed or tobacco,
Yeah,
or that just smoke socially. Like there are so many people that when they're out having a drink, they want to smoke, but they don't want to be inhaling carcinogens or all the many things that are not tobacco that come in mainstream cigarettes. So what we have in our herbal tea toques is just all organic herbs, smokable herbs, and they calm you down, just kind of like that ritual. The people who just like the ritual of smoking really gravitate to those products, whether
fast.
that's the loose or we also have them like pre-rolled.
Yeah, I see the Cancer tea tokes.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah, and those are cancer for the zodiac Cancer um
Not to
sign.
get,
Like those are
yeah,
herbs that
you're
are
not
called
getting
for.
cancer when you're smoking it, right?
No, I know it's like the worst title, but
What are
we
your
love
most
our
popular?
cancers, so
What are
we
your
had to
most
do it.
what are your most popular products on the website?
Our most popular products are probably the tea tokes and also the burn ones,
Really?
for
More so
sure.
than the
Yeah.
candles. Okay. All right. Okay. So,
So yeah, candles as well. So we have soy candles and beeswax candles. Um, our beeswax candles are also one of our top sellers. But when you switch, so that's on our retail site, that's the best sellers. But then when you kind of hop over to the wholesale channel, the best sellers are the candles first, cigarettes second, I think every month it's like a tie between the cigarettes and the burn bundle. So those three products are really like the top sellers on both sides.
Okay, so when a lot of people think about starting an online store or thinking about selling their products, I think that a lot of people think, oh man, how am I going to make this product? How am I going to package it? How am I going to make it look cool? How am I going to? And that's the easy part. Like the easy part is actually creating the product. What you have
Mhm.
done, which is amazing, is developed a significant following to buy the product. Like that's the hard part,
Yeah.
right? It's not making it,
Yes.
it's
You're
selling.
totally right.
Like you're not in the business of making candles and tea toques and all that. You're in the business of marketing. Like you are
hmm
a marketer, is what I see.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, you're right. I think you're sensing that correctly. Kaitlyn and I have a really great dynamic in that how you just described me, that's very much my role. And I am very passionate about holistic living. But I'm also passionate about business and marketing and a following and creating that. And, that's really rewarding to me. And Kaitlyn's background is heavy into herbalism, wellness, and so we complement each other really nicely in those aspects. She's more of the creative. She created the cancer wand you're speaking of. I had really nothing to do with creating that. Um, Maybe the like emails or Instagram ads behind it, yes, but she's the one really like making things really beautiful.
And so,
So
um,
we're lucky to have that kind of dynamic.
I would go, okay, I'm looking at your Instagram. You got over 100,000 followers on Instagram, which is probably, my guess is a huge, um, like a huge platform for you, compared to, any other platforms. Um, how did you do this? Like, this is a significant business. Like, how did you
Yeah.
make this happen? Talk to the people out there that are making candles in their kitchen, who are, dreaming of like their ceramic items being all over the globe and having wholesale. Like, how did
Yeah.
you do this?
Yeah, well, it's like probably not the answer that everyone wants to hear, but just like endless work. I want to say like, oh, it was just all easy and everything fell into place. But I think having what was important is that there was passion behind our project, and we, were really passionate and we were ready to work as hard as it took. So a lot of hard work and a lot of strategic work and a lot of long nights is what it took. But yeah, but I mean, obviously, Instagram can be the best thing, and 107,000 followers is great, and we're so happy with that, and we were so stoked when that number hit. Um, but it can also be, as I'm sure so many listeners know, exhausting, and it can also be like it could mean nothing. There were times like when we had 30,000 or 40,000 followers where engagement was so real, and like we were getting huge numbers on our posts, and then now we have 107,000 followers, and oftentimes it's less than that. So we're kind of at a space where this is just starting to happen. Like, okay, we've been really lucky with Instagram. We put a ton of work behind it, and being as authentic. I swear, like the algorithms are smarter than any of us. They know how you feel when you post. They know how much effort you put in. It's like you have to. It's like yeah, it's hard to predict. So as great as that number is, it can also be very challenging.
Sure, sure.
But yeah, you have to work hard, and we're learning that um, Instagram is not the end all be all. And no matter how many followers you have, like other channels are so important.
What, how much of your traffic is coming from paid traffic versus organic?
So we have been, our D2C channel our direct to consumer channel has been all organic for the last, we are just starting ads like last month and a half. So it's been all organic. And the majority of our traffic up to this point has come from Instagram, but also direct, Google searches and things like that. And we do put some effort behind email marketing. But yeah, we haven't done a ton of ads because it's also been a little bit harder for us to run ads. We have in the past, or like my past project, I ran ads in the past and ran into some roadblocks when it comes to smoking products. No one likes that. No one wants to advertise pipes or anything like that. So that we've kind of been organic out of necessity, but it also worked out fine for us.
Mm-hmm. Talk to those people who are just wanting to start an online business and they've got their product, they've got their thing that they've made. It looks amazing. It feels amazing, whatever it is.
Yeah.
What do they need to do in order to start selling that thing online?
Yeah. I think, and I have people and family members ask me this too, like, where do you start? And I would say, like, for anyone who's thinking about starting an online business, I would ask yourself some questions like why you want to start an online business, because the why behind that will send you down two routes. Like, if it's something to be fulfilling and a creative outlet, then I would recommend something like Etsy. And I used to, when we started out on Etsy. And I used to get so annoyed by the commission that they would take. And now that now that I've like zoomed way out and, we have our website and we have different channels, I'm like, oh my gosh, I would kill to pay 15% for all the stuff they do. Like, so I think sometimes Etsy gets a bad rap because it's like crafty, or maybe people don't see it as a real storefront, but it's so amazing for someone who wants a creative outlet or a side hustle. And the why behind I want to start a business is, oh, it would be nice to do something from home, and that was fulfilling. If the why is I want to really, make money at this and do this on my own and scale the business, my advice would be get ready to work really hard. And there's oftentimes I think I wish I would have done this sooner. And a couple of those things are hiring help for the website. We've done everything on our own up to this point. And we're smack dab in the middle of having a close friend redo everything, our brand story and our website, because it is so that's one thing I wish I would have started with, was a really cohesive brand story. Because while Kaitlyn and I know why we're doing this and what's behind it, that is such a roadmap for every decision you make in your business. Like how you talk to your customer, how you post, where you post, it bleeds into everything. And I think when I started out, I thought, yeah, right, like I need a brand story. Right now we're just starting, we're like, we need to go to pop-ups, we need to sell. And it seemed like, oh yeah, only real brands do that. But if the why is I want to be a real brand that scales and I want people, to know who we are, I would absolutely say invest or do it yourself. If you have that in you, create what your brand story is and who your customer is and how you want to talk to them and how you want them to receive you, because it will absolutely bleed into every decision you make.
Any
So that's one of
resources?
the things I would say.
No, that's great. Any resources that have helped you along the way in terms of like books or podcasts or, certain, I don't know, courses or, anything that comes to your mind?
Totally. I will often listen to podcasts, especially when it comes to marketing, because you can read a book and then next week none of it matters. Or I've so many oftentimes read articles or marketing books, and then I scroll up and I'm like, oh my God, this is from 2014. Like, what am I doing? I've come up with all these ideas around Instagram and it's based on like years ago. So I will always, like, I swear every quarter I'm like, okay, I've got to hear what there's some people I go to, like, there's a lot. I will search for podcasts, and Shopify always gives great ones. Their Shopify experts are always great. I'll tap into like Jenna Kutcher or podcasts like yours just to hear what other business owners are doing. But yeah, so I often listen to podcasts. That's like one of my main resources, because while I have a sales and marketing background, I did not go to business school. I went to school for lots of different things that I will probably never end up doing. Um, and so most of what I've learned is from other resources and podcast books, but always make sure they're current before you invest too much time. But yeah, so, and another great resource is I have been a part of a couple groups where it's just like-minded business owners, or there's a couple of them. That's one of the names. And so it's kind of a nice forum where you can kind of hear what people are talking about using. But honestly, just if you want to start a business, you will be doing and you don't have a business background, and even if you do have a business background, you will be doing so much research and just figuring it out. And I'm still figuring it out. So.
Talk to me about wholesale. Did you begin with that opportunity, like wholesale, or is that something that's come later in the business?
Yeah, kind of both. We started out, when we started, we had a handful of stores around the Bay Area, the people we knew, people we had met at pop-ups and things like that. And so it was a really small part of our business. But actually, since the pandemic, it's kind of like taken over, and it's been the majority part of our business,
Really?
which is really interesting. Yeah, it's interesting because that's when we merged. Is like we merged, and then March happened, and we were like, March, the beginning, and we were like, oh my goodness. And at that point, I was moving down to focus solely on this online business that I think our year, before we merged, we had made a couple $1,000s the first year. So that was really scary, like we weren't ready for it, but it was interesting to see how the pandemic actually, it was kind of a perfect moment for us because people were spending so much time at home and so much time thinking about themselves and their health and what they're even doing, like what does anything mean anymore. And so I think it pushed a lot of people to look inward and to take self-care more seriously. So the stars aligned for us, and our wholesale business really grew, which we weren't expecting. We were expecting maybe our online direct channel to succeed more, that people were working remotely and had time to shop and whatever. But it was interesting to see that business owners were more interested, and we were getting more orders than ever. And there's a couple, and I attribute some of that to we have savvy retailers that went online right away and knew exactly what they were doing, and then we had some that weren't and are luckily coming back. But another huge thing that pushed our wholesale up was working with third-party sites like Fair, Abound, Bulletin. Those have done incredibly well for us. So if anyone is wondering, like, how do I grow my wholesale business, I would absolutely start there, because like I said before with Etsy, it used to drive me crazy, that 15% that they would take. And you're going to see that on these third-party sites. But I know what I was doing before, and it is so worth 15%, if not more, because you're invoicing, you're following up. It's just a huge process. And it's time consuming. So that helped us a lot because Fair has streamlined everything. Bulletin has, it's really helped.
So on these third-party websites, a retailer will order your product and they'll pay the third-party website.
Yeah.
And then they'll just take a percentage, and then you guys ship it to the retailer.
Exactly. So we get order. It's just like it's just like Etsy. Really, it really is. You load your stuff up on the site. I mean, some websites, excuse me, have an approval process. So we actually got declined. We got declined by Fair when we applied for the first time. But then they ended up reaching out to us later. So we were like, okay, good. So you won't get on all of them. But if you can, or start the process and ask, okay, if you're declined, why? I think for us, it was our images weren't high quality enough. But yeah, so basically you have this website that you log into, And this is where retailers are shopping. Like every retailer knows what Fair is, at least Fair. Some know Abound and some know Bulletin. But everyone pretty much, Fair is like the Amazon of wholesale at this point. So that's where retailers are shopping. And it's super convenient for them because they can shop for the season. They can say, okay, self-care items, or we want to have a heavy focus on this. They plug that into Fair, and then brands that are going to be good for their store and their customers will pop up. They just submit the order there, we print it, ship it, and Fair takes care of all the billing and the support, and they're excellent.
Wow.
So yeah.
Because I'm not in that industry, I actually had not heard of that, but that sounds amazing. I'm going to check out those websites.
Yeah. It's a no-brainer for any product-based business, in my opinion. I mean, there's some, like you mentioned ceramicists earlier, and my heart is so heavy for them because they work so hard, and it takes the time that they put behind their product is so crazy to me. And so that is hard to scale unless you have help. So I say most product-based businesses, but you will get business on that. So you have to be prepared.
Got to be ready.
If you're on that site. There's lots of retailers looking. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Okay. So people want to check out litrituals.com. And of course, your Instagram is litrituals. And so we'll put all those links in the show notes. And Christina, I am very impressed with what you've been able to pull off. So good. And
thank you.
May it continue to burn up. Oh, that did not. I'm trying to use the metaphor there. May it continue to light a fire. May it
ignite.
There we go. May it continue to ignite. Good stuff.
I have to ask you a question now, though, before we.
Let's do it.
What's your sign? I didn't get your sign.
I'm a Pisces.
Oh, a Pisces. Very cool.
Yeah, I don't know
intuitive.
Much. I don't know enough. I don't know a lot about horoscope stuff. What does that tell you about me?
Well, let's see if I'm right. You're more intuitive. People are comfortable talking to you and sharing things with you. Maybe you're a dreamer. Does that sound right?
Both those things are true. Yeah.
Yeah. You can see the beauty in a lot of things that other people probably struggle with seeing. So I love Pisces. I think they're a great sign. I'm a Leo, so I'm probably the opposite of a Pisces.
Okay.
But yeah, I have some very special Pisces friends. So
very fun. Very fun. Well, it's good to meet you, and thanks for sharing your wisdom and experience today. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.